happen. It could be like a little winter storm warning.
Our
here
snow
us,
days for
basically.
Florida.
Yeah, snow days, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but we have one tornado warning in effect right now that is going to expire soon, but it is still on the ground over in Sumter, Alabama, so make sure you're looking out for that. And that storm is going to continue moving towards the east, and behind it, we are seeing cooler temperatures so far.
Definitely a drop-off behind a pretty strong cold front. It's a pretty strong low-pressure system moving in. So we have had a few nice days before this, but we are seeing severe weather season start to ramp up. You know how it is down at Dixie Alley, starts in March, goes through about May. So this is our active period for severe weather.
That's right. This is very typical for this time of year with our winter pattern turning into that spring-summer pattern. So we're having two different air masses moving through the area and just creating that instability and severe weather. And we're going to look at all that and more throughout our show tonight. But for now, we're going to pass things off to Aaron and Brian to talk about severe weather.
That's right, and really with the severe weather covers, why don't we look at our education segment on what actually causes severe weather, because there's a lot of ingredients that go along with severe weather, of course, including tornadoes, including a wind shear, instability, and all the like, because really with all that, that's part of the reason why we have these computer models and making sure that we can accurately forecast, because that is very much important when it comes to severe weather. So you can see what is severe weather. So severe weather refers to any type of dangerous effects caused by wind, hail, or even a tornado. So you could see the central part of the country, so around Tornado Alley, is where we typically see the traditional Tornado Alley right there. And of course, as we look down in our neck of the woods, closer to Dixie Alley, over to places like Arkansas, over to Georgia, that's where we might be able to see some tornado development as well, especially in the springtime. And a lot of the times, actually, in Dixie Alley, you also run the risk as well of not being able to see these tornadoes, especially being hidden by larger trees. And, of course, that's one of the biggest risks here. So what is needed to produce severe weather? So most of it has to do with warm and moist air coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, and we need a lifting mechanism. That lifting mechanism comes in the way of a cold front normally, and what happens is the warmer, less dense air tends to rise and replace that cooler air, and that causes what's called convection. And in these thunderstorms, it causes vertical rotation. And that right there can cause, of course, thunderstorms, updraft and downdrafts. And really, normally it's caused by cold fronts and low pressure system alike. So instability. So this is what I was mentioning earlier. With the instability, with the warmer and less dense air, it tends to rise. And as it rises, it condenses. And that's what forms moisture and rain as you go up in the atmosphere. And of course, as moisture goes up, at some point, it'll have to fall down with that rain as it collects more weight and more mass, and then eventually that'll have to drop to the surface and that's what's going to create that rain and that downdraft. So here's lifting mechanisms. So you could really all types of lifting mechanisms, but in the form of severe weather, we normally look at low pressure and cold fronts. So that's whenever we have a colder, more dense air mass coming in and shoving that warmer, less dense air aloft above it. So wind shear. So we normally have directional and speed wind shear. So this is caused by rotation, or wind shear is rotation in the atmosphere as you go up, or speed, changes in wind or as you go up in the atmosphere. So this is what causes thunderstorms to turn and rotate. And this is what ultimately could form tornadoes. So watch versus a warning. So I have an analogy here with a taco watch and a taco warning. And that has to do with, you have all the ingredients in place during a taco watch, but under a taco warning, that's when all the ingredients are together and you actually have a taco. So that's the difference between a watch and a warning. So these are the levels of severe weather. So you have thunderstorms, of course, all the way to high risk. So just be aware for that. And lastly, what to do if you're caught in severe weather. Do make sure you go to an interior portion of a house, particularly in a basement or an interior room. And that's very crucial and very important. It could potentially save lives. But now we'll have more on that with Melissa at the wall.
Thanks, Aaron. So we are seeing those threats going on, but now you know a little bit more about severe weather and how to stay safe from it. But the latest news right now, moderate risk for severe weather over central Louisiana to western Alabama. So quite a large area that's seeing this severe weather threat at the moment. Also a slight risk for Tallahassee tomorrow. So again, Tallahassee area, there is a potential that classes may be canceled if that weather becomes severe enough. So definitely something to look out for. And for our baseball game on Wednesday, that game is canceled due to the severe weather. So we won't be able to cheer on our Noles this week. Our current surface map, again, we talked about how that cold air is going to be moving in behind all this rain and cloud cover. So that cold front is going to move through, pushing that severe weather through, and we will get cooler, drier conditions behind. So at least there is an upside on the other side of this storm. We will have some more pleasant conditions that we haven't seen for a while. We've been seeing those muggier conditions coming in, but this should be pretty dry and cool conditions. Our radar right now, you can see that storm is moving through. We do have severe thunderstorm watches and some tornado warnings in effect as well. If you're in those areas, you need to make sure you are staying aware, you know where you are, and you have a plan to keep you and your family safe. Down south, we do have a special marine warning off the coast of Louisiana, and we do have a few flash flood warnings as well in that green area towards the southern part of Louisiana and Mississippi. So if you do see those flood waters beginning to rise, make sure you turn around. Don't drown. You don't want to drive through floodwaters. It's not a safe thing to do. But overall, just make sure you're staying up to date and know what's coming and what to look out for. Our severe storm outlook from the Severe Weather Prediction Center. We have a moderate risk today for portions of Mississippi and Louisiana. So that is a level 4 out of 5 risk. This is not just a little thunderstorm that is coming through. That would be non-severe. This is a decent risk for severe weather, which includes tornadoes, hail, and strong winds, which we will look at here in a second. And there it is, tornado outlook. So we do have significant severe, that's what that means, over Louisiana and Mississippi. So that's tornadoes between EF2 and EF5. And that is not something to mess around with. That could easily tear apart your home and throw debris around that may injure you. For tomorrow, we do have a slight risk moving into Tallahassee. So again, that's what you're going to have to look out for. And that tornado risk does come along with it. So we may see a tornado, but we do not have as high as a risk of tornadoes as we do for today in Mississippi. For Wednesday, we are continuing to have a marginal risk and a severe, non-severe risk as well. And over the next 3 days, 90% rain tomorrow, 80% on Thursday, 10% on Friday, staying in the 60s to 70s and 40s maybe on Thursday night. But now we're going to turn things over to Evan to continue our severe weather coverage.
That's right. Thanks, Melissa. So right now we have a live picture of our radar over in the Big Bend area. You see Tallahassee right here in the bottom right corner, and we have some convection going on in southern Alabama right now. That's around the area where that new tornado watch was just issued a little while ago. So we'll have to watch and see if these storms have the instability and the potential to start rotating and maybe produce some tornadoes. But now Aaron's going to show me here. We have this big system here. It's really a classic springtime cyclone for the lower 48 United States. We have that moderate risk right there in the red. That's where the main area of the severe weather is occurring right now. We have already confirmed tornadoes today, and that'll start to move its way towards the east by the time we get to tomorrow, and that'll bring that threat over to Tallahassee for the day tomorrow, mostly in the morning hours, but it could also trickle into the afternoon as well.
That's right, and that watch is going to continue off towards the east. It's going to continue off towards the east, of course. We'll have to watch how it's going to affect our area here in the southeast as these storms do eventually move its way off towards our
at some current watches and warnings right now. In this kind of maroon color here, we have severe thunderstorm warnings. So that includes places in Mississippi down into the down towards Baton Rouge there in Louisiana. We also do have in that red color there, that's an active tornado warning. I'm not sure if that's a confirmed tornado or just radar indicated. I don't know if there's a way of showing that, Aaron. I don't know if there's a way to do that on this.
I'm trying to figure it out because it's kind of slow.
Okay, yeah, no worries. And then we also have in the yellow there, those are flash flood warnings. So also with the potential of, we have all those modes of severe weather. We have tornado risk, hail risk, damaging winds, and also that flash flooding risk. So again, if you encounter floodwaters, make sure you turn around and don't drown. I know we say that a lot around here, but that's definitely an important word of advice. Don't drive into those floodwaters. You never know how deep those can be. So now we're going to look at our future radar here on the HRRR model right here. And this will, you can see this line progress towards the east here. And by the time we get to tomorrow morning, you can see that it starts to get towards Tallahassee. So probably get woken up by a rumble of thunder or two. Some storms could progress in front of that line. So those could be ahead, like I said, ahead of this main line. So really throughout all of the night hours. And I think I saw this on the National Weather Service page. The timing for Tallahassee tomorrow will be anywhere from 5 to 10 a.m. for that big line to come through. So again, make sure you have a way of getting those warnings overnight tonight. Make sure you have your cell phones on. Don't put it on Do Not Disturb tonight. Make sure you have a way of getting those warnings just in case those get issued. But As for now, we're going to turn things back over to the wall with Sammy.
Good evening, FSU weather. It's been a crazy night so far. So as we're looking at Doak Campbell Stadium, we're seeing a cool 76 degrees, and it was a windy day, and we're looking at the sunset. It's not bad right now. As you heard earlier, we're seeing a lot of severe weather going into tomorrow right now over the Baton Rouge area, into Mississippi and Alabama, and that's going to move forward into the morning tomorrow, and early, really early. And as you can see in Tallahassee, nothing yet, but that will move forward into the next day. As for tonight, we're staying around 68 basically the whole time. We're going to see those rain chances increase into the early morning. As for tonight, like I said, it's going to stay in the high 60s, and the showers will increase. The chance is going to increase. And please stay safe because tomorrow during school, we are seeing lots of rain chance in the 70 degrees area, and we're seeing a lot of thunderstorms. So as you heard earlier, there is a chance of tornadoes, and do not go out in really bad conditions. Yes, there is a chance of tornadoes, and it will be rainy basically all day tomorrow as that front moves in. Tomorrow, yes, it will be stormy Wednesday, basically 100% chance of rain. It's going to happen. Storm outlook, we have, this is the Storm Prediction Center we're seeing right now. And over Tallahassee tonight we see over Tallahassee a slight chance of severe weather. And as we move on, this should be tomorrow, a 5% chance of tornadoes. This is actually a pretty large chance compared to your average storm. So do watch out, check your apps, watch your warnings because it is possible, and just keep on the lookout because it's intense stuff. And the next day, it's going to cool down as far as the severe weather is concerned out of our area. And then currently over Panama City, we're seeing basically AM storms in the 70 degrees area. And after Wednesday, we're going to cool down. It's a cold front, and we're seeing nice weather at 65 degrees, and we're going to get the real dry conditions over Friday. As currently on the beach in Panama City Beach, we're seeing 70 degrees in the air, and the water is quite cool right now, 65 degrees, and it's a really windy day, so I will not get caught out in the surf. It's dangerous stuff. For the week ahead, we're seeing, yes, still storms today, and then tomorrow we're seeing the big storms, and then after that, we're really not that bad. We have very marginal rain chances. We're going to creep back up into the 80s. Now I'm going to pass things off to the desk.
Yes, thank you so much. And we're just going to be talking a little bit about what happened during our spring break. So for me, I actually went to the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. What about you, Brian?
I went back home to South Florida, and the first few days was very muggy. As you can see, in South Florida, it's always humid. And it did get better throughout the week. I did myself go on a boat, and the waters were good. Temperatures were mid-80s. It actually reached 90 degrees at one point. How about you?
Man, that is unbelievably warm. At least for me, though, it was a lot cooler than it would be in South Florida. We are officially a couple days into spring, so naturally that's going to mean that these severe weather events are going to start occurring, as Aaron and Evan mentioned earlier. But for spring break, when I went to the Smoky Mountains, we thought it was going to be raining in the middle of my time there, and of course, you get to do a lot of hiking, and there's a lot of recreational activities outside, so I was actually rather worried. And if you're wondering, was it actually really smoky? Well, yes, it was. It was a lot of haze. So it's not very clear with those skies there, but naturally it seems to be cloudy all the time, so I was kind of a little concerned. But luckily for me, it actually stayed pretty dry throughout my trip there. And well, what about you, Brian? Was it pretty dry down in South Florida with that mugginess?
Towards the weekend it was, but now we are seeing warmer temperatures moving into April and May, and that's when the storm starts to ramp up, and we do start more seeing severe weather like we are going to be seeing tomorrow and the day after, and including today as well.
Of course, like already last week, Tennessee was already looking very rainy. Well, like it says right there, for the moderate risk of severe weather from central Louisiana to western Alabama, it's looking very bad, and of course we want to keep you up to date on all that. As for tomorrow, we are still in the slight risk. It has been for the past day or two. And so that means that we want to keep an eye out for those possible hail and any conditions that tornadoes might form. Of course, that happened to our neighbor across into the bay, Panama City, and we want to make sure that everybody stays safe. And it can be very dangerous during these times. And Brian, I mean, we got to make sure that we're all up to date, right?
Right, and before you go to sleep tonight, make sure you still have your ringers on. Don't put your phone on silent. You never know what could happen midnight. As well as tonight here in the area, you will start seeing some rain chances going into 3 or 4 in the morning, and obviously we will be sleeping, but you always want to be cautious of what happens nearby.
Definitely. Overnight, it can be very dangerous. People are asleep. Those are the worst times when a tornado can actually strike. But speaking of tornadoes, actually, our director for Tuesdays, Riley, he was actually in Panama City last Friday, who was able to record those videos that you saw in the beginning of the show. And speaking of Riley, he's going to go ahead and speak to us about that right now. Riley? Okay.
Oh my gosh, look at the debris in the air. It's spinning. Whoa! All right, we're heading towards the public right now.
Hey guys, I'm student meteorologist Sarah, and we're going to actually do a short segment on environmental science today, just to switch things up a little bit. So we're going to talk about some tree cover in Tallahassee. Now, if you did not know, Tallahassee is one of the most covered cities in the United States, which is actually insane considering how many cities there are in the United States. Now, as you can see here, there are a lot of different species of tree here, but the problem here is we have a lot of invasive species. Now, the problem with invasive species is that they can take over our native species and they can actually end up killing out a lot of the local biodiversity here, which is a problem considering that Tallahassee is one of the 6 biodiversity hotspots in this nation. If you've driven around Tallahassee, you've probably been on a canopy road. I'm on Old Bainbridge all the time. And that is an absolutely beautiful thing to have. We're very unique for that, to have so many canopy roads, and it really helps give people their privacy, allows nature to really just grow into the area, and it's very just beautiful to be on. We do have some problems with the trees though, and some landscaping. A lot of the power lines actually get in the way of our trees. Now, think about this. You have power lines that are close to trees, one thing happens and you've started a forest fire. Now yes, forest fires when controlled can be really good for the environment, but at this time, when you have a forest fire here in Tallahassee that's not controlled, you're gonna actually kill off a lot of the diversity here, and you could even cause harm to the local residents. There is a lot of actually increased development here in Tallahassee, a 0.89% population growth, and higher population means more businesses, and more businesses means it's going to be really easy to just level out the land, which is not great here considering that we already have a lot of invasive species, and as you get rid of older, more mature trees, you're going to have less oxygen in the air and more carbon dioxide. As I was saying here, you can see that the age of trees in Tallahassee is actually rapidly declining. But these are our issues, and you know what? Go plant a tree and have some fun. Thank you for this section.
Yeah, thank you for showing us that section, Sarah, and putting that together for us, teaching us a little bit more about the trees and that tree cover in Tallahassee. So taking our last look at Doak behind us tonight, very cloudy. We got the sun peeking out just a little bit, so it makes for a decent sunset. Looking at 76 degrees right now in the area. Winds coming from the south-southeast at 12 miles an hour. Was that pretty good pressure gradient is going to bring in those higher winds to the area. If you're outside today, you felt those 20 to 25 mile an hour winds. And that will be coming tomorrow because, look, we got this line that is moving off into Tallahassee in the overnight hours and into the morning hours as you're commuting tomorrow. So if you want to get out tonight, you're looking pretty clear, 68 degrees, and then once we get to 3 a.m., we will be experiencing some showers starting to kick into the area. Looking at tonight in Tallahassee, like I said, 7 degrees, so it should be pretty nice to get out there. And looking for tomorrow during school, you got to be careful in the morning hours, especially around 8 a.m. If you have those 8 a.m. classes, commuting to class, watch for those thunderstorms. Keep posted on your apps, see if you have any warnings or watches. And taking a last look at the week ahead. So we start off with those showers and thunderstorms that we're mentioning tomorrow. A little bit of thunderstorm action here on Thursday, and then as we move off, we start to warm up as we're dominated by high pressure the rest of the week. I'm going to pass things off to the desk to close us out.
That's right. Thanks, Bradley. So as you just said, we have that severe weather threat for tomorrow, and that shower threat continues for Thursday as well, but things will brighten up for next week. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, we see that gray cold front coming in for a little bit. It's going to lower the temperatures for a tad, and then we're going to see clear skies for basically the next week.
That's right, but before we get there, we do have that severe threat tomorrow. Right now it's a level 2 out of 5, a slight risk from the Storm Prediction Center. We'll have to wait and see if that gets elevated to the next level of 3 out of 5, an enhanced risk. But make sure you stay with us here on FSU Weather. We'll get you through this together. And we also have that ongoing risk in the deep south in Louisiana and Mississippi right now, moving its way into Alabama. That's a level 4 out of 5, a moderate risk for that area as well. So make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/FSU Weather to keep updated with us.
And please like us on Facebook at FSU Weather.
That's right. And if you're not already, you can always watch us live on YouTube or any of our archives at youtube.com/FSU Weather.
And follow us on Instagram, also at FSU Weather.
That's right. Those are all very important social media platforms to follow for this time of the year as that severe weather season starts to ramp up and we see more of this situation that we have currently unfolding in the southeast.
Yes, so if you guys are around here late at night, we're seeing a lot of really rough conditions, and I would stay on your weather apps. Please keep your phones on. It's going to be rough out there.
That's right. So I'm student meteorologist Evan O'Regan.
And I'm student meteorologist Sammy Hansen.
Have a great night's stay.